The two elements of the rating of the last Apco rate increase, I mentioned the environmental regulations. That was 5 of the 8%. They're called RACs, that increase. The other 3% was a fight over their power pooling agreement with the other AEP subsidiaries. And they were buying power above market rates. And they were trying to get a lot more money back for that. And we're in a position where part of the reason power was relatively so cheap 5 years ago here, you all were well below, way below the national average. We're still actually below it, but not like we have been, was because they were so heavy on coal. It was both cheap relative to its competition, and the high demand allowed them to do what are called off-system sales. They were selling power out in the way you're talking about buying it in. And the customers get some of the benefit of that because they essentially spread the cost of their assets across people who are outside their customer base. And so your relative power cost was much lower. And so two things happened. One, the economy slowed down. And so power demand precipitously dropped in 2008. And so they didn't have off-system sales, which had been $250 million, $250 million a year for a couple of years. That dropped to like $100 million. And so that meant the customer base of a little over 500,000 Apco customers was absorbing the cost, the asset-based cost that previously had been shared. So that happened, and then the EPA hit at the same time, and that started 2008. It's not just an Obama phenomenon, but they've accelerated it incredibly. And then natural gas became price competitive because of fracking. And it is now natural gas that is cutting into both nuclear and coal more than anything else. The EPA regs have been bumped from number 1 to number 2 in terms of cost driver. But because Apco is locked into a lot of those contracts, there's only so much we can do to force them into. We want them now to do off-system purchases as opposed to sales to get cheaper power. So we're fighting that a lot. One of the things, I'm a moderator in the governor's energy conference tomorrow, and one of the points I'm going to make, and I'll tell you all just the raw numbers, the way our RPS structure is, Renewable Portfolio Standard, this is our attempt to get sort of non-fossil fuels into the system. The way it's set up, Apco will pay a little under, if I remember my numbers correctly, a little under $8 million between now and 2025. And for that, they will get a $100 million rate increase spread over those 13 years. Because the way our statute is written is if you do, I'll just pick one. If you build enough windmills or solar, one of those, and it's a low percentage, it's like 7% now, then we give you an additional 0.5% return on your entire asset base, all multi-billions of it. And so 0.5% times an enormous number like that, when you spend $8 million to build some windmills, that's a no-brainer for them. And it's a complete rip-off for us. Complete.